Today we talk about cycling clothing guide in the temperature range of 7 Celsius to 18 Celsius, which is 45 degrees Fahrenheit to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. The earlier video I made, I'll put a link here in post-production. We talked about from 7 Celsius below to like -6, below freezing, and what you would need to wear and what we recommended. I'm breaking them up into the blocks where it makes more sense for cycling based on what we recommend that you wear. So this range here, I'm going to call our cool weather range from 45 to 65 Fahrenheit. In Celsius, it means 7 Celsius to 18 Celsius. In this range, we recommend that at a minimum, based on what the day is going to do, because some days will start out, depending on where you are in the world, it will start at 7 Celsius and end up close to 18. You have to dress for that. And you have to dress knowing what kind of intensity you're going to use. You know, like everything in cycling is not cut and dry. So if you have a day that's overcast with a lot of moisture or whatever, and it starts at 7C, even if it's going to get up to 18C, you still have to dress a little warmer than a day that has warmer winds, lots of sunshine, and so forth. You have to keep that in mind. It's very important. Wind chill plays a factor. But anyhow, at 7C, it is still fairly cold. You want to, at minimum, cover your knees. Depending on your tolerance for cold, because everybody's different, you need to at least wear knee warmers. That's what these are. You know, they look like leg warmers, but they don't go that far down. That's pretty much where they stop, about there. In addition to that, for me personally, anything below 10C, which is in the middle of this range, I cover my shoes. That's just, you know, that's what I recommend. 10C or below, you cover your shoes. If the day's going to warm up real quickly and it's going to get from like 7 to 12C quickly, yeah, you can put on some nice spring fall socks or whatever, because that's the kind of weather you're dealing with. And then you don't need to necessarily cover your shoes. And some people buy those little toe covers and put them on there. I don't own any of those. Either my shoes are covered or they're not. I don't have time for that, to just cover the nose. But you have to keep that in mind. Sometimes you have to walk outside. Don't just depend on the temperature. When you're getting ready, stroll outside. See what it feels like. So you know if you're close. You want to feel a little cool, but not uncomfortably cold. So in this range, you need a base layer. Whether you wear a long sleeve base layer or like something short sleeve like I'm wearing, would again depend on the wind, the rain, if there's rain or not, or your tolerance. You're never going to get it perfect all the time, but always err on the side of having more than not having what you need, because you can always take stuff off. So you need a base layer in this range. Then you have to decide if you're going to wear arm warmers, which is what these are. You can do arm warmers with a jersey like this. Nothing special about this jersey other than the weight of the fabric. This is a mid-weight jersey. It's not summer. It's not a summer jersey. So when you're buying jerseys, you need to research what the manufacturer says the fabric is for, what time of year. That's very important. This is a mid-weight jersey. I can wear this with a nice base layer and be comfortable 7C and up, and I may need a gilet depending on the wind. And that was another thing I was going to bring in, is depending on what's going on. This is when you start deciding, do I wear a gilet, do I wear a jacket, or do I wear a base layer? It's a hedge, because remember, they're just another layer. So if you decide to wear a gilet, then you got to think, okay, I'm wearing a gilet. Do I wear a long sleeve base layer or a short sleeve base layer? Because you don't want to overheat. If your ride is going to be low tempo, dress warmer, meaning long sleeve base layer and a gilet. If it's going to be kind of up tempo, you're going to be pushing hard, then maybe you will wear a short sleeve base layer. You see how it gets a little hedging. But at a minimum, you need a layer on your body in this temperature range. Plus, if you decide to wear just a long sleeve jersey, It needs to be a jersey that's designed for cold weather, not those light, thin things that just happen to be long. This has a thermal liner on the inside of this to block the wind. If you do wear something lighter, then you definitely need a gilet. They have insulated gilets and other things. You're beginning to see the pattern here. You have to wear things that will protect your core without overheating you based on the intensity, because when you get out there and you start to ride, you might get too hot. Then what do? That's why I like gilets that have 2 zippers. You can ventilate here, ventilate there, or you may have to take it out, fold it, put it up. There are a lot of places you can put things. I put things here sometimes, in between this and my back, so just to save my pocket. So there's a lot you can do. So don't feel like, oh, I'm carrying too much. So in this range, I usually wear 3 layers at the most. I may go to 4 if it's below 7C, but in this range, 3 layers. And depending on what the day is doing, my base layer will be short sleeve, then a light mid layer, and maybe a gilet or not at all. Sometimes if it's going to warm up quickly, I just wear 2 layers. So you've got to get out there enough to know what you can tolerate based on what the weather is really doing, besides just what the temperature says, what the day is going to be like. If it's overcast, windy, rainy, whatever, then you need to protect yourself. For your head, in this range, a standard cycling cap will work. Some people run colder, so you may need a cap that has well, I wouldn't call them ear muffs, but ear covers per se, like this one. You could do this. I like this hat because it will go well into 18, 20 Celsius, and all I got to do is flip this up to be comfortable and get my ear out from behind it, and I'm fine. So you got to keep that in mind when you get gear. You got to get gear to fill a void in your kit. But in this range, base layer, a mid layer, and some kind of like a gilet or whatever will keep you. If the day is going to get to 18C real quickly, then you don't need 3 layers necessarily based on how you run. You may just need 2 because it's going to warm up real quickly. Make sure you cover your head. And I always cover my shoes. So on a day where it's going to get to 18C, I may use a lighter shoe cover or lighter overshoe. This one here is kind of a good cold weather overshoe. This one's made by Rafa. They have lighter overshoes with lighter insulation, specifically for spring and fall. You can use that in those temperatures too. When it's very cold, I definitely do not mess with the spring fall stuff. I want heavy duty stuff. But in this range, this is where the temperature may vary. If you have a day where it starts at 7 and it's only going to go to 9, that tells you that day is going to be cold. So you err on the side of more layers, heavier stuff. And then in this range for your hands, you don't need the Estremo and the other heavy stuff unless you just have somebody with that have cold hands. Some riders just run cold. Their hands are always colder. But a mid-weight glove will be fine. And sometimes you can layer a lighter weight glove like these, for example. You can layer it with a liner, because then you can always take the liner out, wear this, or take this out and just use the liner. That's when you start. In this range is when you can start playing with your layering and removing and adding and so forth. So it's kind of good. But at a minimum, to summarize, you need something on your body. You don't need to be bare with just a jersey. Put on a base layer, a nice jersey, warm jersey. If you're going to do arm warmers with jersey, cover your arms. You're going to need your arms to be covered. And then you need to cover your shoes if it's going to stay closer to, say, 10C or low. Cover your shoes with a shoe cover. Keep your feet warm. Because if you neglect here, the body, what it does, it takes all the blood and focuses on protecting the core. So then your hands and feet get cold. So you need to cover everything to make sure that you're using your energy to ride and not to stay warm. Okay, so you can also wear leg warmers. Some people prefer leg warmers. If it's 10C or less, I wear leg warmers. If it's going to be above 10C real quickly, even though it starts at 7C, it's going to get there quickly, I will wear these guys because it's going to get above 10C. Below 10C, I cover my entire leg so I can stay warmer and use my energy to ride, not to stay warm. So you've got to think in terms of that. What is the day going to do? And nowadays we have hour by hour, and the weather is never perfect. It changes sometimes. So you just got to hedge. It's no big deal to have on leg warmers and it gets above 10C, because a lot of these quality leg warmers, they breathe really well. I can wear this well close to 20C without being too uncomfortable. Not that I would choose to, but if the day changes enough, a lot of times I don't have to stop and pull them off. But you can. That's the benefit of wearing knee and leg warmers. You can also wear the midweight tights like the Castelli Rain or Shine. It's perfect for this range of 7C and up because it's not a heavy duty bib. So they have midweight bibs and then they have deep winter bibs. So you got to keep that in mind. A lot of the deep winter bibs, the top quality ones, you can probably still wear them to around comfortably to the upper part of this range as well. But I wouldn't go out in 7C and higher in my deep winter stuff because I would prefer to wear something that is a lot lighter, you know, on that day. That's the whole point. So you've got to keep that in mind. It's not cut and dry, so you got to vary it based on you and your tolerance. Some people will wear heavy duty stuff in a range where I would wear something lighter because everybody's different. Everybody runs differently. But I hope this will help give you an idea that in this temperature range, you need to be covered somewhat. It's not the time to be breaking out a lot of the summer stuff. Yeah, you could probably hedge and put on a pair of summer shorts with legs and knee warmers, especially if the day is going to warm up quickly. It would work too, because if nothing stops you from wearing a summer short on a changeable day. It doesn't have to be a thermal per se, but depending on how you run, if you run cold, then you definitely want, if you do the arm and leg warmers, you want to get something thermal with some line. What I talked about, the Castelli Rain or Shine Sorpasso bibs, they have a lining in there. So there's some kind of protection. It's not a pure summer short. This is not the range where you should be wearing a pure summer short unless you're on the high end of it, because you can get away with that, okay? So I hope this will help you all get a general idea of how you put things together, because this makes a difference in your comfort when you get out there. That effect, let nothing stop you from getting a cases.